Hello and welcome back to Beneath the Kotatsu. My name is On, and next to me is my co-host James.
Hey, everybody.
So for this episode is episode 7. We're going to be talking about Rainbow Nishika Rokubō no Shichinin, and the reason why we're talking about this anime right now is because this is like the second part of our anime exchange. So for I think it was for episode 3, I gave James Yakitate Japan to watch, and we did a quick review of that. And so this is the second part for the review. And before we actually get into the meat and bones of the anime, I want to ask you, James, why did you recommend me this anime?
It's because it's definitely something you wouldn't watch. Because I know in the past I asked you if you watched Kaiji before and you haven't. This is kind of in the same vein, a lot more serious though. I did watch it over 10 years ago, so my rating back then is different than it is now, just to throw it out there.
Right. I do want to say like this anime. I'm a type of person that really likes slice of life, and this anime is definitely a slice of life, but it's 100% something I would definitely not watch. And and I think the reason is because there doesn't really have anything engaging in the first couple episodes. Like if you look at anime now today, like today or this season alone, the 2021 like winter anime, there's so many anime that if one doesn't catch you in the first maybe 1 or 2 episodes, you're just gonna end up dropping it. Like if this anime was aired like this year, this season, I think it wouldn't have had such a good rating because it's so hard to get into, like you have to dig through this like garbage at the beginning of the anime to actually get through to like the good stuff, which is the second half of the anime. What do you think about that?
For me, I would, I have the 3 episode rule. If I don't like it within the first 3 episodes, I'll drop it. I would have kept on watching this and dropped it at the 6th episode.
Yeah, like it's like rewatching it now, like binge watching it. Would you actually recommend this anime to someone asking you for a recommendation nowadays?
Definitely not. There's a lot more choices, especially, since it's been about 10 years since I watched it.
Right.
Uh, Definitely not. It's like if you've seen every other anime under the sun, and this is probably one of the ones that you haven't been able to see, or maybe you have because it's so high on the My Anime list chart.
Right. I think the only reason I would ever recommend this anime to someone is if they're asking me like, hey, recommend me an anime that's really different. I don't want any, moe harem. I want something that's way off the charts that, like that you probably won't see, very often. And I think that this is the type of anime that kind of hits that niche of like not being I don't know how to really describe it. It's not a good anime. It's not a good anime per se, but it's one that's very engaging.
I wouldn't call it a slice of life. It's definitely more of a drama. Well, I guess you could say it is a slice of life, a really bad slice of life, a depressing slice of life. Like
Yeah.
instead of getting a pie made by Gordon Ramsay, you'd be getting one by the dude cooking pasta at the Golden Corral.
Yeah, like I think the best way to describe like how I describe this anime is for moe anime is like cute girls doing cute things, right? For this anime, like the only way I could really describe this anime is sad boys doing sad things.
I
That's the
wouldn't call them sad boys. Jeez.
it's like when I say sad, I'm not like in the way it's not me saying like, oh, you're gonna cry. It's pathetic. It's very
I
like
wouldn't call them
it's
pathetic.
dumb. It's dumb. Like there's a lot of mistakes. There's a lot of stupid things that can really be
Episode
fixed.
12, there's a character called Lily. She has a line that stood out to me that perfectly summarizes the series. That
Okay.
was, "Damn man, always trying to prove something by acting tough," and that's basically the anime.
It's like trying to show off to like your friends, in the playground, like how tough you are.
Right?
It's
They have
basically
a
that,
lot of bravado.
right? So let's actually go into like the episodes, like like talk about the episodes, talk about why we maybe liked it, why we didn't like it. So at the let's go ahead and start with like the first half, episode 1 to 12. Rating wise, what would you give it?
Probably low six, high five area out of 10.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. Like even saying a 5, it's generous. Like maybe a 4 at most for me. Between a 4 and a 5, just because there's so many plot holes, and that just kind of irked me so much. So for
I
the first
just
12 episodes, it's like the driving factor behind these first 12 episodes is the cop. I think that's my
he's
first gripe.
he's the guard Ishihara. And it's
Right,
not just him, it's also Dr.
right,
Gisuke Sasaki, which is this old perverted dude that likes molesting boys.
right. But he's pretty minor character compared to the cop. Um, and and the reason why I say that is because like their life is a hellhole, and the cop is like always trying to go after them, trying to make their life worse, and they just want to live in the prison. They just want to do normal stuff, like like do serve their sentence and then get out. They're not
What
trying to be bad guys. They like it doesn't specifically say like what they all got into jail for. Like I think it tells you like at the kind of the beginning, but it's just like a rough thing they kind of mention, like how they each of them got into to jail. I think the only person they specifically tell you how they got into jail was I think it was uh Joe, right? Was it Joe that beat up his teacher?
No, that was Mario. He saved a girl from
Right,
being molested. And actually, it turns out she was molested because they show the blood between her hips and her torn skirt. But this, you don't find this out till much later in the
right.
show.
In the
And
second
it's
half.
something, yeah, and it's something that bothered me. It's like, why the hell wouldn't you? And it goes back to that line that Lily said, trying to have this code of honor that really doesn't matter in this time period. Not anymore, I don't think.
Right. So my first impression of like the first, let's say the first 3 episodes, that it was very slow. I don't know how else to describe it, but it's just them trying to survive, and I get what the animators are trying to do. Like they're trying to show like a gritty life of like living in a prison, but it was just very slow, and it was like unpleasing. Like if you're watching this anime now and you just finished these 3 episodes, would you continue watching the anime?
Back then, I definitely did. And I just want to touch on something really quick. It's not a prison, it's a reform
Reform,
school. Yeah, it's
right?
Shonan Special Reform School, which it doesn't feel like one. Definitely see why you're calling it a prison, because uh, only near the end of the first half of the episodes they show them actually doing stuff like woodworking, working with table saws, being productive, stuff like that.
I mean, you can call it a reform school, but there are 6 people in one room and they had bars. I would consider that a prison. That like I don't know what else you could really call it. Like yeah, they formally it's a reform school, but it's legit just a prison.
But keep in mind, this is in the 50s. They don't have the standards that they do now.
And well, this is also in Japan too.
Yeah.
But I I I think it's just straight up a prison. I don't know
They
like
did make a distinction in the second half where they told Mario he was going to go to juvenile prison instead of the cozy reform school, as the prosecutor put it.
I mean, cozy is a fresh word to put on it
Yeah,
for
that's
how
basically
bad
how
they
they
got it.
described it. I'm
Right,
like, I'm like, hold on a second, cozy? What is this? They
right,
went through a whole bunch of stuff. Why didn't they even all get into it later?
right. So let me go ahead and talk about some of the plot holes. I didn't like about this anime. Like why I think the first 12 episodes were horrible. So the first plot hole I thought about was like when right after the prison was it caught on fire, and the brother character Sakuragi He goes and like he dives through the fire to save to save the other six characters. And let me just mention the characters real quick before we actually go any further. So we have Mario, which is kind of like your average kind of street kid. Um, Turtle, which is kind of like he looks like he's 8 years old or something like that. He's
He's
very
super
small.
short,
Yeah,
and
he's
he has
short.
patches of missing hair.
Right, right, right. And we'll go into that deeper later into the second part. And then the third person is Cabbage, which is like the opposite of Turtle. He's like big, and he likes to eat a lot. Then we have Joe, which is like the pretty boy. Like he's an like his I think his was it his father or his mother that was overseas.
I don't know. He's definitely half Japanese.
Yeah, he's half Japanese,
They
half
didn't really
American.
mention it, did they? Which parent
Uh,
was which?
I think they did, maybe like in quick passing. Um, no, no, no. Okay, so it was his dad because I specifically remember him saying that his mom told him to wait outside the uh the orphanage. When because she was like, "I'm gonna come back for you." She never does. And then he's always mentioning to his sister that his mom's gonna come back soon, and then she finally catches on that
Oh yeah.
that they're never gonna come back. So it was his dad that was American. And then after Joe was we have Undercovered, and all these names I'm giving you are like nicknames. They have like full names, but they usually go by their nicknames. Um, Undercovered is like
Well, it was uncovered, and I'd like
oh,
to say
uncovered.
Baremoto instead because it just sounds better.
Right? Yeah, Barumoto. He's like the smart guy of the group, which honestly he's not that smart. And then
Keep in
um
mind they are like 16, 15, that age.
right, right, right. I wouldn't say smart. I think he's just uh um I wouldn't
His
say
vision
street
of the
smart.
world has been messed with greatly. He's been through a
Oh
lot of
yeah,
stuff.
right, right. And then after that we have Soldier, which is um I think he's just like the pillar of the group. Like he tries to set everyone right, and I think he's the only character that really um didn't go through. I like does do they mention why Soldier was put in jail?
I don't remember, but they didn't even give him like a character arc in the second half, so I'm assuming, you know, he's pretty much a
Right.
straight edge dude. Like he fucked
Yeah.
up one time he learned his lesson.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why I call him the pillar. Because he's always there for the other members of the group.
Hmm.
Okay. So going back to the incident I was talking about, the fire incident. So after the prison burns down, and and Sakuragi passes out because he inhales too much smoke. He gets put into a hospital where he stays there for a couple of weeks, and he has 2 weeks left in the hospital. And an additional, like, after the 2 weeks he would have only one more week in the reform school before they let him out. His dumbass decides, hey, I don't want to be in this hospital anymore. I want to get out early. I I just thought that was really stupid. Like, why don't like the reason why I thought that was stupid is because if he goes back to jail, he would get harassed by the cop Sakura no what was his name
Ishihara.
Ishihara. Yeah, he would get harassed more by Ishihara. Whereas if he stayed in the hospital, there's always that nurse looking after him, so he wouldn't get harassed. Because the nurses would call like the other police, or would call some other advisors or something like that to let them know that something fishy is happening within the prison. What do you think of that overall?
I he didn't just inhale too much smog, by the way. A piece of the ceiling fell on his leg and he was a
Oh,
little
right,
bit crippled.
right, right,
Uh,
right. Yeah,
I had to go back and rewatch the whole series because of that. I didn't believe you. They definitely didn't state a reason why he requested to go back. The only thing I could think of is, the bravado. Oh, he's this big, tough guy. He's 18. He's, the head of the pack. I gotta show my boys that I'm strong, even though I already know he's in good hands.
Right. And like when I first told you about it, you're telling me, "Oh, he probably went back because he wanted to see them." He's like, "No, no, no, because they all of them visit him at the hospital, so that's not the reason." And then you're telling me, "Well, what if they, and this is before you went back and rewatched it." I was like, "Oh, what if the doctor was the one that, put him back in jail?" I was like, "No, he requested it." The doctor was like, if he wants to go back early, let him go back early. So this is totally 100% on him.
And he was like,
You
"Oh,
know,
okay, go back. I'll get my boy Ishihara on you again."
Right, right, right.
Because they
And
definitely knew he knew about the boys in the past, right?
the one boy that that they harassed so much, and then he was about to get let out,
Hmm.
and then they ended up killing him because they didn't want him to spill any of the secrets that the shady stuff that was happening in
No,
jail.
the kid that hung himself was being molested by the doctor. The
Right,
doctor
right, right.
told him if he kept on doing as you're
Letting him.
told, we'll let you
Right,
out early. And then Ishihara was like, "You thought you were gonna be let out early?" And then he just laughed at him, and he deeply regretted his decision.
right, right, right. And then going past the part where he comes back to the room with the other boys. The next part, the next plot hole after that is immediately they put Sakuragi in his own little what would you call it, like a timeout type of, like,
Solitary
yeah,
confinement.
yeah, solitary confinement. And then inside the solitary confinement they put in like a couple more guys from like a different cell, and they start beating Sakuragi every day. My gripe about that is they didn't really specifically say why they're beating him up. Like, why are some of these guys who have beating up Sakuragi? What is their motivation? Like they're all in prison together. My only guess is that maybe they're getting paid off with like cigarettes or something in the background, but
That was
they're
my feeling as well, because the way they reacted to Ishihara, it's kind of like they were hired to do a job.
right, all right. But then that totally like got blown out of the window when Sakuragi, started beating them up. That he beat them up so bad that, and then Ishihara went into the room and they're like, "What happened?" And you would think they would spill the beans on him to, and then the Ishihara would have an excuse to keep Sakuragi in jail longer so he wouldn't be able to get out and tell the secrets.
Well, they didn't
Uh,
say anything because of prison rules. You don't, you're not. It was just kind of weird because you're not supposed to be a snitch in prison or jail. And then they like did a 180 on it. They were kind of like working as a snitch, but then regained their former senses after they got beat by Sakuragi, which was
Right, so
kind of weird to me, but
none of
okay.
that makes sense. Yeah, none of it made sense. Like either you're one or the other. Like they're already getting paid off, so and it doesn't specific. Like this is just us, like you know, like at the top of head, at the top of our head, just saying what we think happened. But maybe they weren't paid off. Maybe they just wanted to beat him up.
By the way,
Maybe
those dudes look super old, and it's supposed to be like a reformatory school.
right, right. Yeah, they look like they're in like maybe their late 20s or something like that.
At least early, they did not look you. I mean, it's a cartoon, whatever, but still,
I guess they just want to look menacing or whatever.
for sure.
Uh, and to that point, like after like the midpoint of that, this is where the part where it's like sad boys doing sad things is where Mario was like, "I want you to stop beating." Like he goes up to them during like when they're all outside, they get some outside time, and he's like, "I want you to stop beating him up." And I was like, "This is like the stupidest move I've ever seen." And they're like, "Okay, well we're gonna beat you up instead of beating him up." And what they do is they crush his hands, and that's what causes
They crushed
that
his right hand with a rock,
rock. Yeah, and it totally becomes like inusable.
mangled, definitely
Yeah,
mangled, but he's still able to use it for some
like
reason.
barely, barely able to use it. Um, and this is what causes Sakuragi to lashes out and beat the other guys up.
To put him back
But
in order. But
right,
Mario's definitely the stupidest out of all of them, along with Sakuragi. But those two dudes are idiots, and it kind of shows later on because he follows in his footsteps almost exactly. And even one of the nurses mentions that, oh, he's starting to look like him.
I think that's kind of funny that that you're
Anchan.
saying, yeah,
I know, I'm
that
saying
you're
it.
saying that because the stupid person in the group is supposed to be Cabbage, but he's like the most successful out of the group at the end of the show, almost. Which kind of blows me away. Just like the path they really give him, because I feel like the path they gave him was kind of like an out because he's such a friendly character and you don't really want anything to happen to him, which kind
Yeah.
of makes sense. Um,
But going
but
back to the plot holes in the first half.
Right, right, right. So after all that said and done, they, the cop Ishihara plans with the director of the reform school to try to kill Kusaragi.
What was the doctor? He was with the Gisuke
Uh, I don't remember. He was just
Sasaki
like a,
Gisuke, the dude with like
yeah.
he put three Hitler mustaches next to each other.
It's
And he
so
has a
weird.
bunch of pock marks on his face. He's
Right. So for Sakuragi, like them trying to kill him, the this part doesn't even make any sense either. So they're dragging out his death for like the next, I don't know, 4 episodes or something. And while there's a cop, like a separate cop, I don't know his name. He was in like 2 episodes. He was supposed to be the good guy, like a good cop, right? So how they're trying to kill Sakuragi is they're trying to limit his food. Like they're trying not to feed him at all, so he dies of starvation.
they're
And then
trying to make
there's
it look like a natural death, like
right,
he
right,
wasn't shot or choked to
right.
death.
And this cop is like slow, like he's sneaking in food to Sakuragi and checking up on him to see if he's still okay. And so midway, I think like I don't remember, like episode 10 or something, the bad cop Ishihara finds out that the good cop is feeding him food, and then he just straight up just kills him.
Hold
Like
on there,
they're
play. I gotta fix you right there. What happens is, uh, when Nanchan's recovering in that room, uh,
hmm
they let the good guard know what's going on, and then he overhears the guard Ishihara talking to Dr. Sasaki on the phone, telling him what they're gonna do. Uh, that's when they, pass him food and stuff like that. Uh,
right.
when they're in another scene after that, uh, Dr. Gisuke notices that guard trying to snoop on him, and he does a very poor, way of snooping on him because he could see his shoulder and half of his head. Like, come on, dude. Like, be more sleuthy. Could have just at least crouched on the ground or something like that. But anyways, Dr. Gisuke hears them talking about how they're gonna blow the lid on this, and he's actually a lot more sneaky. Uh, they straight up kill that guard because of it, because he was, too stupid to actually, report it to police or the director of the damn place.
I think he was about to. I mean, the nursing guy was the director, right?
And no, that was the doctor. It was separate. The director was briefly shown, which, the whole chain of command in this place is fucked up. It doesn't make
It's
any
all over the
sense at
place.
all. There's
Yeah, it's
like
all
no
over the place.
supervision at all.
Yeah. So yeah, they like that was my gripe, is like they just straight up killed him, and then they're over here dragging out, they're dragging out Sakuragi's death for like the next 2 weeks or something like that. It's ridiculous.
They
Um
definitely could have killed Sakuragi with like a gunshot or something like that. If they killed the guard so easily and there was no investigation into that, come on.
right. Right. I think that probably one of the biggest plot, which, which is hard to like, which is crazy to say because there's so many crazy plot holes in the first 12 episodes. I honestly I just want to like I just want to tell people, like, don't even watch the first 12 episodes. Just watch the next 12 episodes. But that you can't really say that
Episode
because
13 is it goes
watch the
over
recap.
everything. It's a
Yeah, watch
recap
the
of the
recap.
first 12 episodes. And I even said, why didn't you just tell me there was a recap episode at episode 13? Like it was so hard for me to watch those first 12. The first 6 episodes were really hard for me to watch, to be honest with you. I wanted
Let,
to
let,
not
let
watch
me
it. I was
let me
like, oh,
tell
gotta
you.
do it.
Yeah, let me tell you. If you watch the recap, would you really have the same feelings trudging through the first 12 episodes as I would? You wouldn't have the
That's
same
true.
feeling.
Definitely not.
Yeah, like if you just watch the recap, you would be like, "Oh, that's not that bad." You're probably just hyping it up. But no, you have to like. feel the first 12 episodes to know what I'm feeling after
Frustration
watching
of
it.
the first 12 episodes definitely leaves to the some of the good feelings from the next 12.
Right.
But
And
still,
I'm not even done with all the plot holes. There's still many more
of
plot holes.
course.
It's the most ridiculous. All right, so after they're trying to kill Sakuragi and he's almost dead, the boys plan a breakout. They're planning to save Sakuragi and, escape the jail, so he doesn't get killed. And actually, the breakout, the you know the breakout was actually not too bad. I think that's probably one of the better episodes in the first 12, but that's really not saying much.
Yeah, well, there was
So
two breakouts, weren't there? One where was it Turtle bites his arm and says there's a snake? That one was a little bit silly to let Joe out to find his sister.
yeah, that was pretty minor. So
He
I
got
don't
caught
even
either
know.
way, so it doesn't matter. You could disregard it.
Yeah, I think that's more showing like Joe's like backstory than anything.
Definitely.
Um, yeah, but it's like the good parts are so outshadowed by the bad parts, and we're just like disregarding them. So with the second breakout, I think four of them managed to escape. Am I right?
About, yes. Well,
Yeah,
you had three characters, Joe, Turtle, and Mario,
right.
and
Along
Anchan.
with along with Sakuragi. So basically they make it out. Joe is like chosen through rock paper scissors to come back to the jail to check up on the other
Well, they
boys.
fought for the privilege over rock, paper, scissors to go back, which honestly,
Ah,
in hindsight, was probably the better move.
yeah,
Just
yeah,
just because it cleared any future issues of him,
like,
being
like
an
no doubts.
escapee. But
Right, right,
again,
right.
the guard dying, nobody investigated. If somebody would have just investigated, they would have cleared Mario and the other four guys. Uh, they would have been fine.
Easily.
Yeah,
Yeah.
easily. Like,
Okay, so
come on.
Joe comes back to jail, and I was like, what the hell is he doing? Why is he going back to jail? And I didn't know this, but apparently they had a trump card, and the trump card was that the cop that died, he wrote like a death letter or something. And I I guess this was in the manga or something because it doesn't really show how they get their hands on this like death letter. It's signed telling them like
It
how he
wasn't from
died.
the guard. The one you're talking about was one that Ishihara said he had signed with a fingerprint in blood,
Right, right, right.
stating he's like committing suicide. But the one that the Sakuragi had was from the kid that was being molested by
Ah,
the
okay,
doctor,
gotcha,
and that
gotcha.
was signed with a bloody fingerprint too. Which, what does it matter if you have a bloody fingerprint? I don't think they had the capability to tell whose blood it was, much less have samples stored of their DNA on hand.
No, it's probably not DNA. It's like like the actual ridges on the finger. That's probably what they're matching
Oh yeah,
to.
I guess so. But still, a fingerprint's not, you know, it's easy to.
I mean, they
I
probably
wouldn't say
signed it,
it's
and then
easy to
they
fake, but
I mean, it's a fingerprint and a signed letter. I mean, what else do you want?
maybe they use it in lieu of a stamp that the Japanese seem to love, especially back then.
Yeah. I mean, it was really primitive back then, so take it or leave it.
Yeah.
But so basically, he goes back and he tells him like, "Hey, we got this letter," and you don't actually know if the letter's real or not. They don't actually tell you if the letter's real or not until episode 12 when he actually pulls it out of his coat. So I thought it was like maybe just a random trump card or
No, I
something that he
just
was playing.
I took it at face value when I saw it as something written, but damn, they sure did take their time producing that letter. They could have just given it to the director instead of suffering
Right,
through all of that.
right. That's the next plot hole I was getting to. Like, why he held Sakuragi held on to the letter after they broke out, as a trump card, but he could have just easily just given it to someone higher up and tell him like, hey, you have fishy stuff going on. Here's a letter that explains it
Well,
all.
for that part I could defend Sakuragi because he wouldn't know who's in on it is the thing. They could easily just want to brush it aside and not want the bad press. The thing that I'm surprised is that the letter kept so well after, whatever, a year or two, him having in probably in like a
In his
pocket
pocket,
or something like that, getting wet constantly.
right? It could have been a napkin, maybe at most. No, they were able to rip it up, so it definitely was a piece of paper. You know, It's just another. Maybe he kept it in his shoes. Maybe
You know
that's what happened.
you know what that letter had?
What?
Plot armor.
The strongest plot armor.
That ancient papyrus that Yami Yugi uses for the Exodia cards. Oh jeez.
um. So yeah, like they end up holding on to this letter, and I mean honestly, they probably could have given it to someone that that cared.
Or that
Because
one guard that got killed off, you know.
yeah, exactly. But they didn't. They just held on to the letter, and I'll skip past to the part where they're episode 12 where Mario gets hired by like these American people to go to box versus like an American person to make some money, and he's training, goes through like a little mini training arc to learn how to box, whatever. The next plot hole, the next plot hole. I wouldn't say the plot hole is just the stupidest thing is
What?
that the cop Ishihara chases down Sakuragi to kill him. Sakuragi's like, like get out of like they confront each other outside the army base, the American army
Well, it
base.
wasn't in episode 12, was it? Oh yeah, he
I
did.
think it
He
was
definitely did die at that time because
yeah,
that was a turning point for the show.
right. So Sakuragi's like why are you even trying to go after us? And he pulls out the letter, gives it to the cop, and he's like, I don't want to see your face anymore. What does the cop do? Rips up the letter and then tries to kill him. I mean,
Keep in
and
mind that he at this point Ishihara was he for some reason went crazy and he started doing drugs. They called it
drugs and
Philopon, which
yeah,
basically heroin, I guess.
yeah. And he not only tried to kill him once, he tried to kill him like three times, right? One with a dagger, I think one with a gun, and then one trying to run him over, like all within a span of like 5 minutes, something like that.
And you would have thought when Sakuragi fired the gunshots around Ishihara that, the army guards would have come around a lot
Right.
sooner.
Well,
They
I think it was
conveniently.
raining. It was raining, so maybe it was muffled
No,
by the
they would have
rain.
known. They're soldiers, dude. They would have known. They went through World War II. They would have known.
World War One, right? Or no, this is
Two.
right after World War Two, right?
Correct.
Um, and my thinking about this is that like, okay, he tried to kill you three times. Why don't you just kill him? Like I feel like Sakuragi could have killed Ishihara like so many times. Like honestly, like just take one for the boys, just kill him. What's a couple more years in the prison?
Well, he
Um,
probably could have gotten away with it because it was raining and they would have seen
yeah,
his arm, like, because they showed the Ishihara's arm. It was all like all pink and stuff like that because he was probably reusing needles. Looked like he had an infection in there, but that dude was super crazy, just from
yeah.
like losing a battle to Sakuragi. But it just felt kind of convenient. I know he was probably scared of getting caught for taking money for the molestation of the boys, but come on.
Right. Is it's awful. Like the first 12 episodes, it's like it's hard to recommend anyone this anime, and what's so crazy is that this anime is in the My Anime List top 100. I still fathom how it's so high up there, and looking through the reviews, I can see that this anime is like of its time. Like the only 10 ratings I've seen from it is from like when it just came out. Most ratings, like most of the lower ratings I've seen, is actually from from the last couple 3 years or whatever when you're just watching it, because it's in the top 100. It's like, oh look, it's right here. I'm gonna maybe pick it up because it sounds good, because of course it's gonna be good. It's in the top 100. And a lot of these scores are like in the mid fives to between 1 and 6. People either like it or they don't like it, and a lot of people nowadays they're really not liking the anime. What do you have to say about that?
Definitely it's probably propped up by the old reviews. I think over time, as more people watch it or recommend it or just watch it because it's in the top 100, they'll
Right.
lower that score down. It probably would put in the at least 1,000 to 200 range, 2,000, excuse me.
I think the reason why it's so high is because if you actually finish it, you kind of have that like when you just finish a good anime, you kind of want to get a higher score than
You have that
what.
feeling exactly.
Yeah.
You can't give
Um,
this anime a proper score without watching it twice.
yeah, you gotta watch it like maybe Like watch it once, wait like maybe 2 weeks, and then watch it again or something like that.
Yeah,
Um,
it's uh I definitely recommended it because I back then the day I marathoned it in one go and I
mhm,
was on that high. I would have given it a 9 out of 10 or a 8.9 out of 10 back then, but now
right.
a lot less.
Yeah, it's one of those animes that's like maybe like a one and done, but like the reason why I just didn't like this anime is because there's really no like crazy epic moments that I would say like I would go back and watch again.
Well, you're
It's
looking
all
for that shonen moment. It's
yeah. I mean they have them in like in slice of life anime too.
This is
I'm
like
I'm
people
I'm not
who
looking for
want
like
like a
epic
Fist of
epic
the North
moments.
Star slice of life, like
Like
manly men doing manly things.
like not even that. Like let me give you a quick like example. Like what was the isekai with the girl that makes paper? I forgot the name of that one.
Uh,
Um
I know you're talking about the one where she's just a bookworm and she gets
yeah,
reincarnated as a little
bookworm.
girl.
I think that was like the name of the anime was bookworm. Um even though it was like a subpar, like story, like it had very epic moments in it that I really enjoyed. And like even if you cut out the part where she's using her powers, just the part where they're like, oh, watch me make this or watch me make that, and seeing all that come together, it's like a pretty epic moment. But there was none of that. There was none of that feeling in Rainbow. I think the only thing Rainbow had was a good ending.
I would disagree with that. They did have minor victories, and that was their epic moment.
Yeah, but
That was like a little fun size snicker of good feeling.
yeah,
But
that's what it gives you. It gives you that endorphin of good feeling, but there's no epic moment, is what I'm saying.
yeah,
Like,
it was definitely the bad outweighs the good moments in the first half. I think because
I'm
it's so bad, and of course they use vile things like rape and show you how the awful backgrounds of these characters. Maybe those small victories make it feel like a huge one, but it's really not.
But there was no real victories in the first 12 episodes. I think that's why the second half of the anime was so good,
Mhm.
is because that's where all the victories came.
The best part was when two best parts in the first half were both Joe. The one where he winks at Dr. Sasaki like, "Oh, hey, we're gonna have fun tonight," and then they tie him up. That was probably the best moment in the
oh
first
yeah,
half.
like the
Yeah,
the
he winks
the
at him like, or he gets super excited. He's like, "Hurry up, Hayaku, Hayaku!" After they eat their meal.
right. Well, let's just go straight into the second half of the anime because I'm pretty much done talking about the first half
Okay,
because it was so bad. So the part you're talking about is like once. I think it was like a time skip of I think 6 years or something like that when
it
all of them
wasn't
are out.
6. It was like uh, the whole show takes over a period of 6, but I'd say it was maybe a 1 year time skip or a 2 year time skip after
Was it?
Anchan dies. Yeah, it was. It feels like it's a bigger time skip, but it's not.
Huh. Okay, so basically all of them are out of the prison, and they figure out that the doctor that was harassing them, he's now running for governor, and they don't want like they're like we don't want
Mayor.
this, or mayor, yeah. They don't want this to happen. Like they don't want this like guy with bad intentions to become mayor. So what they do is that they find him, they set him up to where um he has like a boy toy, and they get his boy toy to call him, and he comes over, and then they're all there waiting for him. What they do is they take him to the beach, they bury him in like a ditch or something to where his head's the only thing poking out, with the water slowly rising up trying to drown him or whatever. And I thought they were legit gonna drown him, and then it skips to the doctor in his room. He wakes up and he's like, "Was that a bad dream?" So he goes like right after this is he has like a large speech for his campaign to become mayor. And during this speech, the boys recorded him like apparently like confessing to everything he did, while they're trying to kill him at the beach.
Yeah,
So the
cause he was like, okay, I'll tell everything. I'll confess to everything in his
right,
desperation to stay alive. And
right, right,
yeah, he
right.
forgets that he did that because he was so fucked up from almost dying.
Right. And that was probably one of the better victories. That's probably like one of the highest victories in the show, was just, like showing like what he did and how they're affected by it. Like, I think that's one of the better resolutions in the second half.
Yeah, that was
But
super. That was a really good moment. That was
right,
my fuel for watching the rest of the show.
right. I mean, regarding the second half, what would you give it in terms of rating?
Uh, I would give it 7.2 out of 10.
I give it a solid seven as well, like between a seven and an eight.
Yeah,
But that's the thing, is that you just can't tell someone to watch the second half because they wouldn't know what's going on.
and they wouldn't
Maybe
have the feelings from the first half either.
right, like I would say watch the recap, but I think the reason why the second half is so good is because we had to go through like the mud to actually get to the to whatever, like the good stuff is.
Yeah, I
We
would
had to trudge
definitely
through.
say I would recommend this show if you want to feel some strong emotions, frustration, relief, stuff like that.
Yeah, but it's a time investment. It's a big time sink because it's like a total, what, 24
26.
ish, 26 episodes. Yeah, it's a big time sink. Um, and then out of all the boys, which one was actually your favorite? Like ending?
Cabbage, 100%.
Cabbage. Do you want to explain what happened to Cabbage?
Yeah, so basically, Cabbage went through this whole arc of, being, having feelings of being worthless, uncovered,
Right.
and Turtle are trying to, find him a job, scamming people with turtle blood powder or
Oh my
unbreakable
gosh.
glass, which he fucks up every time. Like, I know
Right.
for the turtle powder, he breaks the pre-broken rock and then he snuffs it. It was like a Viagra type of thing. It makes you strong
Right.
as an ox. But anyways, in the glass, he breaks it in his hand instead of slamming the bottom, uh, which is sturdy, and it would have made the glass not break. So then he tried to join the Yakuza because, he was enamored with it when he saw them after they rescued Joe.
Right. It's like, yeah, like he sees the Yakuza as like a brotherhood that he kind of wants to join.
It's something
Uh,
that he could have done, which, of course, he's not good at it either. He even didn't he pick up the phone and say, "Hi, this is the Fukumoto gang. How can I help you?" type of thing.
right. Right.
When he
I
was
think
doing
I
like a
think
trial with them cleaning the whole place with the
Yeah, I
Yakuza.
think that was like the best comedy moments was with him and the Yakuza.
Yeah,
Uh, I think out of like the whole show, I think that's probably like the best comedy relief. I wish they had more of that throughout the whole show instead of just
they definitely
um
needed it. It was a lot of
yeah
emo
yeah
moments in the first half.
yeah. Like if they had more of that type of scene, I think it would be more enjoyable to watch. But just him like doing like the most stupidest thing in the Yakuza gang, like um what happened after the telephone incident? I don't remember.
Nothing really came of that. The guy told him to shut up. There's another incident where the boss of the branch goes to a meeting, and
Right,
Cabbage is left there with his mentor, and
right.
the mentor is like, "Hold on, I'll go grab the door." Somebody rang it. Uh,
Hmm.
Dude gets hit in the shoulder by a katana. I
Like
don't
just
know.
straight up.
Yeah, it was like a rival or some disgruntled guy,
Right,
and
right.
he goes after Cabbage, and Cabbage is scared for his life. His eyes, deer in headlights type of thing. He runs away
Yeah.
for like a second. He turns around. He grabs an end table and smashes it on
No, a
the
chair. It was a chair,
infiltrator.
right?
Something like that. A real pro wrestling move.
Yeah, like
Which,
he gets cornered. He gets cornered in the room. Guy's about to come up and slice him in half or whatever. He
yeah.
grabs like the closest piece of furniture, and slams him in his face.
Oh my god, it was
Um,
so good. Well, of
and
course they don't show you that at first. You find out later, which makes it even
right,
hilarious. They make you feel like he got stabbed or something like that. But
right, right,
anyways,
right.
uh, they're
The part
gonna.
after that was even more funny.
Yeah, he called the ambulance and the cops came too and raided the whole dang place.
Right.
And they were going to kill that guy, but the boss of the branch was like, "I'll take care of it. I'll put my, I'll stick up for him for a second. He did save my dude's life." Uh,
Right. Yeah.
and then
If he
he
didn't
found
call
him a
the
job
ambulance.
pro
Yeah.
wrestling.
right. If he didn't call the ambulance, the guy would have died.
Yeah,
But like in return, like the place got raided by the cops.
I feel like he
Um,
did the right move because if the dude died and he was around, they might have killed Cabbage. Eventually, he would have
maybe.
fucked up and he would have
Yeah.
done something to kill himself because he wasn't privy to how he should act.
Right. 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 I think, like his arc was really good. I think overall he had probably one of the better arcs. Um, for
Definitely.
me, I out of everyone, I think my favorite arc was probably Turtle. Um,
Turtle was also very good. I'm super satisfied with him. His was the
the only
last one too, I think.
Yeah, and to be honest, honestly, he should have died. He should have died like way earlier in the
Oh,
show.
for sure.
And the reason why I thought he should have died is because near the end of the show, he starts feeling sick and he starts passing out a lot.
Well, they show
And
it initially in Uncovered's arc. He just gets woozy. And I'm like, oh no, that atomic bomb radiation that he was around when he was a little
that
kid.
do they tell you that? Yeah, yeah, yeah. So they tell you like in the first 12 episodes like how what happened to him in his backstory is that he and I want to call BS on this backstory, but what happens is that his dad is like the type of person that gets disgruntled and likes to beat like him and his sister up, and so what he does is that whenever his dad gets angry, he would take him and his sister, away from the house, um, and during the one time that his dad got angry and he just left the house without taking his sister, the atomic bomb drops on the city, and he's over there like looking at the city. I'm like, first, how far you have to go to not get hit by an atomic bomb.
How far?
He should. I don't know, but I would guess like maybe a couple miles at least.
He was, by the looks of the position on the hill, it would look like a big one. Uh, he was far enough to, because there in the past, like in real life, there have been
Right.
people even 2 miles away from the blast radius, and he still lived. Of course, he developed cancer later on, but he, you
Yeah,
know,
they don't tell you. They don't
two to
tell you.
7 miles. It looked like it could have been far enough for a kid. You back then, you definitely could have walked that much. You
But
know,
but he's a kid though. So my next thing is that if he doesn't die from the explosion, and he doesn't die from like the aftershock, and he doesn't die from the all the other like the shrapnel, all that other stuff. He went back to his house, right after the bomb lands, and the black rain, he gets covered in black rain, and he should have just straight up died from
well, they
radiation
didn't
poisoning.
know at that time about radiation. Well, not the Japanese at least. They wouldn't have known.
No, 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 but I'm saying like he should, like, even if they didn't know, is what I'm saying is that he should have died from radiation poisoning.
Well, he did
Um,
get affected because of his hair in the first half of the show.
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's bald and he has like these bald spots or whatever. But he was only a little kid, and with a little kid, and you're getting bombarded by so much radiation. But we're not here to get scientific, but I'm just saying, at least it came up. Like for my first half of the show, I was like, man, he should have died from all that radiation poisoning. But they actually talked about it in the second half, so I was like, all right, yeah, I'll give it a pass because I actually did talk about it.
Right.
But that's not even part of his arc. His arc is about basically him. He's like the financial. I wouldn't say financial advisor for the group, but
He's a
he's
financial
like the
backbone because he sells cigarettes
yeah.
from the military base.
Right, right, yeah. I mean, I think he does more than just cigarettes, right? He does like a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah, maybe,
Uh,
I'm sure, but they only ever showed him the cigarettes.
right, yeah, yeah. So what he does is that he goes to the U.S. Army base, he picks up like loads of cigarettes for X amount of price, and then them. He sells them back to the Japanese people, to tiny shops around town for another certain amount.
Well, they were American
Um,
cigarettes too. I think the Zebra brand is what it had on it.
I don't really think they go too much into branding or anything like
It
that,
was
but he
definitely an
basically
American because it was a bootleg
right.
American name. And they even show like another bootleg product. They had a Bart's beeswax thing he gives to Uncovered's mother, like a Burt's Bees. Like even the
All right.
1950s aren't safe from a bootleg anime brands.
So basically, what happens in his arc is that it, I don't know why they really gave Lily an arc or like a backstory, but Lily is the girl in the first 12 episodes that set Joe up in the American Army base to have the boxing match with the American boxer
Mario.
or Mario. Yeah,
Yeah.
my bad. And she's basically dating the general
Hmm.
of the army base, and then in the second half, what happens is that the general leaves back to the United States, and he tells her that, he's gonna go back first, and he's gonna set her up with a visa so she can come back to America. Turns out, he's lying, and then she loses all her money, and she needs to
She
find a.
loses the money that she was swindling from the general, hiding it behind the painting. He left her like goodbye,
Um,
Lily letter note, which is kind of hilarious. She got played.
yeah, well, no, I don't think she was swindling the money, right? It was just money
She
that she
was
was saving up
pocketing
over time.
extra money on top of what she was getting.
Ah, okay. Yeah, so basically, she was hoarding money, and then apparently they found that hoard of money and they took it, so she has nothing to her name. And and a turtle wants to help her out financially, so he meets up with this guy, or actually the guy meets up with him first. Like, there's this old man that learned like that's basically like a money lender, that lends out like small amount of money, and then
The one
like
percent loan, Grandpa
yeah, the one
G-san.
percent loan. Yeah. And I don't want to get too deep into that, but Turtle kind of wants to do like the same thing but instead, like, he asks for like a 300,000, um, was it yen or dollars? I don't
Yen.
know
It's
if they
yen,
translate yen. So how much is that? Like $30,000 or something like that.
probably.
He asked for like a large sum so Lily can set up like a store or something like that. Um, uh,
Actually, it would have been $300.
oh, was it three
Yeah,
hundred
because like
dollars?
10,000 yen is like $10, isn't it? 1,000 is
Uh,
$1.
I think 1,000 is okay, so 100 is $1, right?
Because I know when I used to buy anime figures imported from Japan, $80 figure was about 80 to 90,000 yen, depending on the price. The
Right.
yeah,
So 300,000. No, that's 30,000, right? Yeah.
that would have been 300. That's a lot of
Oh,
money. Keep in
300.
mind,
I mean,
Mario was boxing for like $20 for a winner take all fight.
right. Yeah. Whatever the inflation price was for that back then. So he's asked for like a large sum of money. Turns out they don't take the large sum of money, like, because the Lily decided that she doesn't want to, like, be in debt or be in Turtle's debt or whatever. Like, she doesn't want to ask him for money.
Right.
Um, and and at the end of the show, they Lily, turns out she's gonna work for the old man, and then Turtle ends up opening up his own lending services or whatever. It works out well for them, and the best part about it is that Lily and Turtle, they bond together, like brother and sister, and
Hmm.
the reason why it's so important is because Turtle doesn't have any more family because they're all killed by the atomic bomb.
Yeah, his friends are his
So
family.
yeah, like his friends are his family, but he doesn't like have anyone to officially call like a brother sister relationship. So I think that's why I really like his ending so much. Um,
More than
and then
anything, I
pretty
would
much
say that Turtle is the backbone for the group more than Soldier. Soldier's like, realistically who a role model would be, but Turtle is the one who gives everybody money uh,
money. I
and
don't think
helps
he
them.
gives them money. Like, the only person that he gave, like, that actually gave money to was um uh
Uncovered
Uncovered.
for his
Yeah,
textbooks. Lol.
because everyone else was working, because
That's
Joe
true.
became a singer, and Cabbage, started making his own money from wrestling. So financially, the only person he's financially giving money to is Uncovered.
And Lily, I
Um,
guess he tried to.
right. But Lily, she started doing her own thing afterwards. Joe's backstory is like, it was pretty brief and it made no sense actually. But
Well,
it
he
was
was
all right. It
working
was
as a
pretty good.
gopher for another band, but those dudes were straight up scumbags. And then he
Right.
found another gang, and then, eventually, uh, he got beat up by the old gang for, trying to go
For
out
the
on his own.
yeah, trying to be a singer. It's a
It's
weird one, and
whatever.
then the remaining arcs are like kind of like sad arcs or whatever.
Soldier didn't even get an arc.
Yeah, he basically started working for the Japanese military. So yeah,
Self-defense force.
yeah. So still shows up, time to time, for like the moral support. Um, uh, Mario gets back into boxing. He tries to get with a nurse. Nurse ends up marrying some other dude for financial support. Which is sad.
For
Uh,
her
uh,
family's business. It was like
right,
a
for a family's
business
business.
marriage.
Yeah. Uncovered, becomes a sex addict.
Well, I wouldn't say
Tries to
he falls for the prostitute, and the trope of uh the samurai falling for the geisha goes into play
right.
right there. Even One Piece had that recently in the Wano arc with a minor character. He fell in love
Uh,
with the prostitute, and she took all of his money.
Basically, and then he tries to like set her up in a way that is like, let's get married, like let's run away, let's get married. So she like, prostitute tells him to meet her under like a specific tree at a certain time, whatever. And then he's waiting there for like hours, and it pans over to her meeting up with another guy. They end up having a suicide pact together. It's a stupid ending for him. Like, yeah, like he learns that, like, hey, like, even if a life is ruined, you can always get recovered. So I mean, honestly, it's not like all bad for him. Like, he gets work in Tokyo to repay back Turtle, to repay back his mom, for the money he stole to have sex with this prostitute.
Right.
Right. Besides that, everyone else had like a pretty, you know, um, subpar. Like, besides Turtle and Cabbage, I think everyone else had like a subpar arc. What do you think?
Definitely, Mario's hand got fixed and he went back to boxing. Uh,
Right.
doesn't really give like I mean, it stops at a good spot, but at the very end of the anime, there's like a little on-screen thing that says, please continue reading the manga to find out what happens next. Which, whatever. I'm never gonna read the manga. You can if you want to.
Right. And I think, um let's say that Cabbage and Turtle's arc wasn't as good,
Hmm.
like they're just subpar like everyone else. Would you think your rating would have gone down? Like, I think they were the backbone of the next 12 episodes.
Yeah, definitely. By the way, I wanted to mention something about Cabbage. Like, I know he made it big because in under Uncovered's arc, he's like, "Oh, let's go watch this match. These two guys are wrestling, and it shows motherfucking Riki Dozan versus Luthez." And people that don't know about wrestling in the 50s, those are two legendary figures. So Cabbage is basically training in an era with legendary wrestlers. Like he's gonna make it big. He's gonna make a lot of money. Like definitely, probably gonna be as rich as Turtle, if not more.
Right. He's gonna make a name for himself, which is really weird because you would think, like, he's the type of person uh, that you wouldn't think would really do much, but he ends up actually being super super successful.
Well, he doesn't
Um,
like fighting, but he loves wrestling and he's addicted to the limelight, and that's what
right,
fuels Mario to get back into boxing.
right.
And it's
I
not
think that's
even
pretty
wrestling's
much
not even fighting back then. That was still scripted fighting. It wasn't. Of course, they took their bumps, but it's still wrestling as it is modern
like
time, just a
today.
lot less aerial.
Yeah, I think, yeah, they had like wrestling, and then Mario had like boxing. But you know what? Something I want to say real quick is that they actually got decent American voice actors for the show. Like, like
Well,
they spoke
they
like
weren't
proper English.
American. They were definitely Japanese, but I don't know who the voice actors were, but their American was very good, almost perfect.
Yeah, I mean to the point where it's like, maybe they yeah, I could still kind of hear like a little bit of the Japanese accent, but like not to the point where it's like those like people that like the trope animes where people are like speaking like English in a way that you can't understand a
Like their
single thing they're
jaws
saying.
detached.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
basically.
And like you actually see that when Lily speaks, which makes sense. She's Japanese,
Right.
so when she tries to speak English, it's like very broken English. But when like the actual like American people speak English, like it's proper English. And I think one of the funny part is like during Mario's arc is that when Mario and the American guy are
Jeffrey.
speaking to each other,
He's like, I
yeah,
don't understand what you're
I don't.
saying. And then he
Yeah,
goes,
they can't understand each other.
yeah, that's
Which I'm
great.
like, yes, finally something that makes sense. Like, of course, he's not gonna be able to understand English even if you speak to him. So I thought that was really good icebreaker in the show when they're trying to get
Well, it's
Mario's
not
hand
really an
fixed.
icebreaker. It's the end of the anime.
Was it the very was that the
It's
last
the
episode?
very last two episodes was
Oh
Mario
wow.
getting his arm hand fixed. I wouldn't really call it a. I guess it is an arc, but it's just two
I'm
episodes.
not
It's a
saying it's like
closing to
a
the show.
yeah. I wouldn't say it's an icebreaker. It was like a comedy relief for the tense moment that he's getting his hand fixed. I think that's what that was, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But besides that, I really don't have anything else to say about this anime. Like if you're asking me if I would recommend it, I wouldn't recommend it to anyone. Because there's so many other good animes to
Back
watch.
in the day, I would have, and I recommended it with the mindset that I had back then.
Right.
Going back now, it's there are worse animes out there. It's this one's above average for me. The plot holes bother me a lot more this time around.
Yeah. It's like maybe like a one and done, but if you would ask me, I wouldn't recommend it.
Hmm.
But besides that, do you have anything else to say?
No, that was all.
All right. I guess that's gonna be it for episode 7. So we'll catch you guys later. Bye.